After Germany's defeat of France and Britain's refusal to stop fighting in 1940, Germany began preparations to invade the country. This began the Battle of Britain, where Germany aimed to achieve air superiority before they attempted a land invasion. On July 16th, the German Führer Adolf Hitler ordered the preparation for the invasion of the country. The code name for the German planned invasion was Operation Sea Lion. If the outcome of the invasion had been favourable to the Germans, they had detailed plans for the immediate post-invasion administration. A Nazi official, Franz Six, was to be made the head of the police operations in the country. Reinhard Heydrich, director of the Reich Security Main Office, who had appointed Six, wrote to him stating that "Your task is to combat, with the requisite means, all anti-German organisations, institutions and opposition groups which can be seized in England, to prevent the removal of all available material and to centralise and safeguard it for future exploitation." A secret list titled The Black Book was produced, which listed the prominent British residents to be arrested. It included Prime Minister Winston Churchill, former Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain, Clement Attlee, the head of the British Labour Party, Edvard Beneš, the head of the Czechoslovak government in exile, Free French leader Charles de Gaulle, Labour politician Sir Stafford Cripps, Liberal politician Sir Archibald Sinclair, Socialist Beatrice Webb, writer H.G. Wells, philosopher Bertrand Russell, writer Virginia Woolf, and many more. In total, the book had 2,280 names in total. Six also would have been responsible for the handling of British Jews, which at that time numbered around 300,000. The German Führer Adolf Hitler decreed that the Blenheim Palace, the ancestral home of Winston Churchill, was to serve as the overall headquarters of the German military occupation government. The town of Blackpool was also to function as an important place for the German forces. Hitler had a special fondness for this seaside resort and was keen on making it the seaside resort for Nazi forces. Because of this, Blackpool was deliberately spared by the Luftwaffe, despite it being a legitimate military target where thousands of British troops were stationed. The Nazis also planned to establish military headquarters in other parts of Britain, including London, Newcastle, Liverpool and Glasgow. They also planned on creating a major base in the town of Bridgnorth, as it was located geographically in the heart of the country and had good rail and communication links. Meanwhile, Eton College, the school of many British establishment figures, was to serve as an exclusive public school for the German invaders' children. Regarding the British monarchy, evidence suggests that it would have survived, but with a key difference. The British King, George VI, would have been replaced by his brother, the former King Edward VIII, who had paid a friendly visit to Hitler in 1937 and was widely suspected of having pro-German sympathies. Lists were also made to see who could head a new pro-Nazi government. Oswald Mosley, the British fascist leader, headed this list. However, he was not the only option the Nazis considered. Interestingly, Harold Nicolson, who had opposed appeasement against Hitler but had once been an ally of Mosley's, was also seen by the Germans as someone who could head the pro-Nazi British administration. After occupying Britain, the Germans also planned to spread the Nazi ideology around the country. In late 1936, the Ministry of Propaganda asked James Vincent Murphy, an Irish writer from Britain, to translate Hitler's Mein Kampf, and Murphy finished his translation in 1937. However, the propaganda ministry had by then decided not to release the book after all, and Vincent's translation was not published. Nonetheless, during the planning of the British invasion, it was decided that the book would be published after Operation Sea Lion was completed, and the British version of the book was finalised and printed in 1940. After the operation was called off, most copies of the book were distributed to English-speaking prisoner of war camps. Although the British people ranked favourably in the Nazi racial hierarchy, there is evidence to suggest that if Germans had occupied the country, their treatment of the local population would not have been favourable. On July 27th, a Military Economic Staff England was set up in order to plan for what seemingly would have been the systematic plunder of the country. Everything but normal household stock would have been confiscated at once. On September the 9th, the German Field Marshal Walter von Brauchitsch signed a directive stating that the able-bodied male population between the ages of 17 to 45 would, unless the local situation calls for, be interned and dispatched to the European continent. By September 1940, it was becoming clear that the German Air Force, the Luftwaffe, was suffering mountain losses in the Battle of Britain. And as there was no sign that the British Air Force had been defeated, on September 17th, Adolf Hitler postponed Operation Sea Lion indefinitely. And as a result, the German plans for the occupation of Britain were not carried out.